Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, the face of boxing, Canelo Alvarez, about to fight on the weekend against Dimitri Bivol, undefeated fighter in the light heavyweight division, and it's a decent fight. It's not one of the fights that I would want to see. Everyone knows when I'll give Canelo props is when he fights Demetrius Andrade, period. Right? That's just me because Demetrius Andrade has been with him from 154, 160, falling up to 168, and Canelo's moving to 175. Didn't fight him for undisputed. I'm not ignoring that, right? A lot of people do. That's just not me, right? But, wait, hold up a second. The man Canelo, some of the things that the dude does is embarrassing, actually. And it's actually embarrassing that it's not embarrassing, if you understand what I mean. Listen, just the latest thing, because I don't know where to even start with the guy. I'm just surprised that he's not the laughing stock of boxing, right? He's a very good fighter. We got that. But he's being, with training wheels. Since the beginning, they keep allowing him to do things that they're just not allowing others to do, right? The latest things, I hear that Canelo wants to fight Alexander Usyk one day, soon. The heavyweight guy, the legend in Alexander Usyk. Much respect. Alexander Usyk and Canelo shouldn't even be in one sentence, right? There's two different mentalities. Alexander Usyk was undisputed at cruiserweight, going to everybody's backyard to beat them. Everybody's. If it was Marco Huck in Berlin, that's where Marco Huck lives, guys, in Berlin. That's his home stomping grounds. He goes there to beat him. He beats Glowacki in Poland. That's a Polish guy, and he was undefeated at the time. He goes to Latvia. That's Marius Briedis territory. He goes and beats him there. He tops that off for going to Russia to beat Morit Gassiev. Hard-punching Morit Gassiev. Beats him there. By the way, Briedis and Gassiev also undefeated. He goes to Liverpool or Manchester, one of them, to beat Tony Bellew after his fights with David Haye, when he was riding on a high. Beat the hell out of him there. Beats Derek Chisora in England and Anthony Joshua in England. Beats Michael Hunter at cruiserweight in the States. Dude doesn't go home. That is not Canelo-like. Okay? Those are two different fighters, two different entities. But Canelo wants to fight him at heavyweight. But Canelo just recently said he turned down a fight with Errol Spence, the welterweight champion, one of the baddest welterweights, right? To meet him at a catchweight. Now, welterweight is at 147. A catchweight of 164 pounds. That's 4 pounds over middleweight. That's between middleweight and super middleweight, right? That's how much Errol Spence was going to gain to fight Canelo. All he has to do is, because Canelo's going to fight his next fight against Golovkin at 168. So Canelo would just have to go down 4 pounds. This guy would have to gain, 13, 14 pounds, whatever. I'm not going to even think about it. But from 147 to 164, you know what I'm saying? We're talking 17 pounds. But the bottom line is this. He turned down $55 million to do that, right? To fight Errol Spence, with bloated up like that. That should be an easy fight for Canelo Alvarez, who's been running around at 168, 175 pounds. Turned down $55 million to do it and says, well, I don't have to do that. I'm not fighting anybody at catch weight, right? But you want Alexander Usyk, who's running around at 220 pounds now, 225, because he's got to fight Anthony Joshua, big self, right? 250, 260 pounds. So Usyk is up to about 225. You want him to go melt down to 201 pounds, right? So he can get the heavyweight championship maybe at 201 pounds. Because, mind you, cruiserweight, which went up all the way up to 200 pounds, doesn't anymore. Because the WBC is letting people fight at 190. Hence, Canelo wanting to fight Makabu at 190 pounds. Why would you want to fight Makabu? There's Briedis, there's Dorticus, there's Okoli. No, Makabu is the one he wants to fight. Shortcut to being able to say I'm cruiserweight champion. Again, right? Then you want to fight Usyk. No, not at 201 pounds. Usyk is a heavyweight. You want to get a heavyweight championship? Then not a shortcut. You just said you didn't want to do catch weights. Then why you want to catch weight Usyk? For someone who didn't want $55 million to fight Errol Spence at a catchweight, didn't he? We have, what is Canelo's weight called? Did anybody remember that 3 or 4 years ago? Canelo weight, because we just did it. It was 155. Because he didn't want to fight at 154 anymore. He was having problems making it, and he didn't want to go up to middleweight at 160. That's only a 6 pounds discrepancy, right? So he made 155. What did the media and everybody do? Just call it Canelo weight. And he was getting props for fighting at middleweight, and he wasn't, right? Fighting, you know, Kirkland and Amir Khan and stuff. Everyone was okay with that. That's a catchweight. So if you add up the $55 million he didn't want to take to fight Errol Spence, the $55 million he didn't want to take for fighting David Benavidez at 168, the $45 million he didn't want to take for Jamal Charlo at fighting him at 160, and the $40 million he didn't want to take for undisputed against Demetrius Andrade, that's $200 million for those 4 guys that he's not going to take. Instead, we're going to fight Dimitri Bivol, follow that up with 40-year-old Gennady Golovkin, who hasn't done anything to deserve the fight with Canelo, the 3rd fight, except keep his name. He didn't change his name, which is okay. He's still Gennady Golovkin, but it would have been better if Gennady Golovkin would have took care of an Andrade or a Charlo in the meantime, and then we'll be like hyped about Golovkin and Canelo. But to wait around 2 years for my man Murata, and then we're supposed to be hyped about him and Canelo, which neither one of them fought Andrade or Charlo, we're not. Actually, we don't want to see that. But he signs for your boy, who we going to fight next? Bivol. Then after Bivol, he's going to fight Golovkin. And then after that, he wants Makabu or John Ryder, the guy who just lost to Daniel Jacobs, but they gave him the title anyway. They gave him the nod, and he lost to Jacobs. That's who, and I've told you, Ryder is not going to rematch Jacobs in the meantime or fight anybody in the meantime. Canelo and his team is probably paying him to stay put so he can fight and just wait and fight a John Ryder. Those are the 3 people that they're saying, hey, that's okay for Canelo to fight instead of, look at these guys. David Benavidez, everybody knows he's ridiculously awesome. Jamal Charlo, everybody knows he's ridiculously awesome. And Demetrius Andrade, everybody knows he's the best fighter in boxing. He's in that conversation with Terrence Crawford and anybody else as the very best fighter in boxing, and we just ignore that. That's why Canelo is the most scared of Demetrius Andrade. That's why I mention him all the time. Yeah, he don't want to fight David Benavidez at 168. He doesn't want to fight David Morrell at 168. He doesn't want to fight Jamal Charlo. We know that. That's why the franchise title is there. We know that. But the one he fears the very most is Demetrius Andrade, because that guy will outbox you like Stevenson just did Oscar Valdez. That's why that's not happening. I ain't gonna let my coffee get cold messing around with y'all. Bottom line, guys, is this. Canelo should be the laughingstock. The people that are enabling him are you starting to be exposed at a rate that's ridiculous. Right? We have to, call Canelo out on these things because it should be embarrassing for him to even suggest these things, right? It really should be embarrassing. People like Charlo and Andrade should not exist. And Charlo's brother as well, Jamel Charlo, because he was calling Canelo out at 154. How do you leave the 154-pound division, right? And people saying that you're the best one, when the champions were Jamel Charlo, Jamal Charlo, Demetrius Andrade. Canelo was allowed to be in that division and not fight either one of those champions, leave, and be considered higher on the pound for pound than them. Only in a sport where people is not regulated, you can even imagine to do something like that. He should have been laughed at, and you ain't fighting, we don't care who you fight until you fight one of those guys. And then they follow you up to 160, and the same thing happens. And then he keeps going and goes to 168 and finds out a way, because the WBC enables him to not fight Benavidez, who was the lineal champion there. No one's even saying anything about that, right? Asking people from 160 to fight Benavidez, like Charlo and Andrade, they're at 160. Why should they fight Benavidez? That's Canelo's the ones bouncing up, running from them from 160, going up to 168, was able to fight, make everybody not fight and just wait for him. That's the worst thing in boxing right now for me, the Canelo thing. It's really hard for me to get hyped about Canelo and Bivol because I know that me personally, I know some people think Bivol is the second best light heavyweight, and he probably is. But I have seen Bivol. He reminds me of Katie Taylor. You know, real good, right? Real good, decorated. But I've seen him every time I watch him. His fights are kind of close. You know, it doesn't look like he's invincible or even close to invincible. And so that's why I've been saying that Canelo beats Bivol. I think Canelo has more of a problem in Artur Beterbiev than Bivol. That's just me. I know Bivol's probably a better boxer, right, than Artur Beterbiev, right? But Canelo's going to probably walk down Bivol. Canelo ain't walking down no Beterbiev, right? That's going to be a different kind of fight. But Canelo going to pull out the stops he pulled out against Golovkin, and Golovkin won, which Canelo can do. That's that Canelo I like. I like the Canelo who has to box, right, and has to show his defense. When walking down those guys, those feather-fisted guys he fought at 168, that's why he left Benavidez away from that. Because he, you know, well, I can walk down Caleb Plant, I'm going to catch him sooner or later. I can walk down Billy Joe Saunders, I'm going to catch him sooner or later, right? Yildirim didn't count. Caleb Smith was just folded up the whole time, so I don't know what was wrong with him, right? But he wasn't gonna fight no Benavidez because you ain't walking him down. Anyway, the bottom line is, even though I'm chilling, I just had to say something about that. Canelo wants to fight Alexander Usyk at 200, but it has to be at a 201. No, if you want a heavyweight championship, ain't no heavyweights running around under 220 pounds no more. If you really want to be a heavyweight, you've got to fight people that's about 250 pounds. That's what they are. And I can tell you something else before I soon to really just piss you off. If Usyk were to fight Deontay Wilder and Deontay Wilder knocked Usyk out, Wilder would come down to 201 pounds. Would anyone want to see that? Canelo versus Wilder, and Wilder goes down to 201 pounds? I don't think so. I'm up out of here, y'all. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And like I said, I'm up out of here, y'all.